All right, so welcome to LA Rams Central. It's just going to be me today. I'm just going to do a quick show that's going to kind of cover a little bit of the game on Thursday night, which I want to send a message out there first. If anybody watching this is able to upload weeks 1 and 3 of the Ram games on YouTube or Google Plus, rather, or either one will work. If you can do that, I'd really appreciate it. I had them on my DVR and then they got deleted. So I'm without them and I haven't been able to convert it to my DVD collection yet. So if anybody out there is able to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Or if you at least know where it is, direct me to where I can find it on YouTube or Google Plus so I can upload it to the computer because I'm an idiot. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the game. So I told you guys that the Rams need to run the ball better and that their run defense had to improve. Now, I do think overall the run defense did really well. It was their pass defense this week. On a short day's rest, considering how little time they actually had to prepare to stop the run, the fact they were able to do that, I think, was an extremely impressive feat. But I don't think anyone in the Ramily is comfortable with where the Rams are at right now as far as stopping the run. I mean, even still, I think they were running the ball a little too well against us. The passing defense has always been a concern. I think Trumaine Johnson is a good corner. I still don't think he's a great corner. And I think if we lose him, we lose him at this point. I think we're going to end up getting a lot of corners in the drafts and through free agency in the next couple of years because Wade has to fill that void while he still has his D lineman intact. I did like the way Gurley ran. I liked the way the offensive line blocked. I was really impressed with Watkins and Woods in this game. Robert Woods. See, I didn't say Brooks this time. I think they played well. Obviously, they played great. A good shot. I'm glad they called a penalty. It looks like the Rams are finally starting to get the lion's share of the obvious calls that we didn't get a year ago. And I think some people were stepping up in bigger roles on the offensive side of the ball. I did really like the way Jared Goff played. I told you guys that his demise was a little too premature. Everyone talking about him being a bust after just 7 games. I did a show on that. I'm not going to sit here and pound the drum like I said before and say that I told you so, but what I am telling you is to be patient, to relax. He's going to have good games. He's going to have bad games. He's going to have okay games. We've seen a great game. We've seen a good game. We've seen an okay game, and we're 2-1 in that stretch. I promise you he's going to lay an egg on one of these games coming up. I hope it's against Dallas so we get that bugaboo out of the way. Actually, that's a lie. I don't hope it's against Dallas. I hope he doesn't lay an egg all year long, to be perfectly honest with you. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point. And your only hope is that the defense, the special teams, and the running game is performing at a high level that it doesn't cost us the football game. But, guys, he's basically a rookie. He has a new offensive coordinator, an entirely new offensive system. I work with a guy who told me that he doesn't like Jeff Fisher after the way that he treated Vince Young. And that when Jeff Fisher gets a quarterback that he doesn't want, he has a reputation of ruining their career. I don't know if I'm going to say a reputation of ruining their career considering he only drafted 2 or 3 quarterbacks now in his lifetime as head coach. As far as first-round picks to start, and that's Aaron McNair, who he wanted, that was his baby, and then you had Vince Young, who he clearly didn't like and did affect his career. I won't say he ruined it. Vince Young still didn't do a lot when called upon, but as we saw with Jared Goff, a lot of that has to do with the system and the plays that you put in place for him. Do you make it predictable or not? So, sorry, my clock's going off. This will be on the show, apparently. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Where were you? Anyway, so I do think that the system has a lot to do with it, but it's not. Ultimately, you still have to perform, and there were spots where Jared Goff did perform. Had the Rams been able to run the ball, had they had a good offensive line, I think last year could have been very, very different as far as the way we played as we see this year. But we weren't able to run the ball. This is like the longest chime ever. God, that was like 5 minutes. Okay. Anyway, so I just want you guys to understand that Goff's going to have a bad game or two. And that and again, he's basically like a rookie because it is a whole new system. We don't have Jeff Fisher laying around anymore, thank God. And we don't have that offensive coordinator that only knew 5 plays and 3 formations in his entire playbook. I never believed from day one that Jared Goff struggled with the playbook. Boris's playbook is about as expansive as a pamphlet that you get when you go visit a city and they tell you here are some places you can go. It wasn't in depth. It wasn't complex. It was overtly simple. The problem was he didn't get reps. And when you don't get reps until it's your turn to start, you have a problem. And I remind everybody what Jared Goff's second or third start looked like against the Saints. He played phenomenal. But when you don't have the players to run the scheme, you're in trouble. So I really like the way Jared Goff played in his first road game under the new regime in this system, and I think he played really, really well. A couple takeaways that I took from the game is that our run defense still needs a lot of work, and that Robert Quinn is a great pass rushing outside linebacker, but he's not a run stopping outside linebacker. We're going to have to either find a place for him, or bear with me for a minute. I don't think Robert Quinn's a bad player. I don't dislike Robert Quinn. But if we're going to run a 3-4 defense the way Wade Phillips wants us to run it, and we have Wade Phillips for I think 3 to 5 years, keeping Robert Quinn doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If we were able to trade him for draft picks, you would probably get a first-round draft pick. You would probably get a pretty good player in return and a second-round draft pick, depending on how you did it. You could trade him for a 1, or you could trade him for a second-round pick and a really good player that maybe can play that position a little bit better. It's a scheme issue with Robert Quinn. He is not able to stop the run as effectively. He's not big enough. So these big guys come in and they just block him right out of the play, or they seal him in when he takes an inside move because he pass rushes on every play, or so it feels, trying to get to the quarterback. As in a 4-3 defense, if you rush the outside on your way to the quarterback, it doesn't hurt you because you always have an outside linebacker to protect you. We don't have that in the 3-4. You are contained. You are the outside linebacker, and Robert Quinn has not shown the ability to set the edge yet. And I just think it's a size issue and an ability issue. I don't think it's a Robert Quinn sucks and we need to trade him. I think it's we need to get pieces to fit this defense right, and we need draft picks in the process, considering what we gave up to get Goff. And now next year we'll actually have a first round, but because we got Watkins, now we don't have a second round. So trading him for a second round draft pick and a player might not be a bad idea. And there are a lot of players out there that the Rams could get that could better utilize or fit the system. Of course, we might want to wait until we see what's in free agency, but we might not have to wait until what's in free agency. You might be able to free up some money, too, to pay Aaron Donald. But right now, this is going to be a problem all year long, guys, because I don't believe, and I've been wrong before, but I don't believe Robert Quinn has the ability to set the edge the way Wade Phillips wants him to do it. And again, it's not that he sucks. It's not that he's a bad player. He's a great player. He's a Pro Bowler. When he's healthy, he's one of the best defensive ends on the field. But the problem is now he's playing outside linebacker, and that requires different jobs and different duties. And you can only coach him up so much. Ultimately, it comes down to, does he have the physical ability to do it? He's not strong enough to play that position. That's a problem. The other issue that we have that's been glaring from last year is our secondary, especially with Joyner out. I like Nickel Colby, or Nickel Roby Coleman. Nickel Roby Coleman. I like him a lot. I liked him in Buffalo. He's a great football player. He's a good football player. Tremaine Johnson has kind of proven me wrong this year so far, and I'm glad to see that. I'm eating crow a little bit on my venting of him. But outside of that, what do we have? We don't have anything. I want to see what this kid Johnson can do from BC, but he's not starting. Now, that may be because Wade Phillips doesn't feel like he's ready to go on the field, but this kid was a big play guy, and we got him in later rounds. Is he not performing? What's the deal with him? That's kind of a question mark that I have there. So that's a takeaway, is that our secondary needs a lot of help. My other takeaway, guys, is we can officially say it now. Tavon Austin is a bust. He's a gimmick player who's useful for one play. Get him off the field. Get him off punt return. Get him off kick return. I know Pharoh Cooper fumbled the kickoff. That was a fluke thing. It was a really good play by the 49ers, as much as I hate to admit that. That's not something he traditionally does. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he's the issue, because he's not. But we got a problem with him. And if we could just get rid of him, and at this point I don't care if we trade him for a half-eaten Dorito and a half-drank bottle of Mountain Dew, we'd make out on the deal and we'd screw the other team over. As far as I'm concerned, that would be a win for us, because that money that we now don't have, that we have freed up, $46 million worth. What were you thinking, Sneed? We could throw towards Aaron Donald and pay the man and finally get this thing done. Right now, I think it's a cap issue, and no one's going to convince me otherwise, because either that or they don't want to re-sign him. I mean, it's really just that simple. And don't tell me that it's principle that the Rams are standing. That might be their company line that they're toting. Like, we want to wait until at least next year because, him holding out early is premature. That's a blow to smoke. That's an easy excuse, because next year they're going to have more free agent. They're going to have more cap money, and they're going to have players that they can now figure out, okay, we're not going to keep. We're going to get rid of this guy. We're going to do this. They have a whole offseason to figure that out before they pay him. That's not the reason. The reason is they don't have the cap room. It's really just that simple. What he wants and what they would have to pay him isn't allowable right now under the cap. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. So can we please finally agree that Tavon Austin is a bust and get that worthless pile of crap off the field? He can't play football. He was a gimmick guy at West Virginia who had combine speed. He's a typical combine speed guy with no real speed on the field. I didn't see Tavon Austin pull away from anybody on the touchdown. I've never seen Tavon Austin pull away from anyone on a broken play. He just doesn't have that ability. So I'm done with that. And we can finally agree that the guy isn't what we thought he was, which is fine, but then you have to own up to it. Anyway, can we finally admit that he's a bust? I mean, at what point do we need to wonder this? I mean, it's obvious. The guy can't field punts. He can't field kickoffs. He can't get open on routes. He doesn't break away from anybody on the reverses of the running plays, and everybody knows when he's in and he's doing that jet sweep that he's going to do it. The only thing he's been useful for is taking eyes away from Todd Gurley on that play where we fake it to him and give it to Todd Gurley. That's been a pretty good play for us so far this year. But I'm done with him. I've been done with him for a long, long time. And I think it's time that we get rid of him and we just start in his place Cooper Kupp. Get Kupp on the field more. He needs to be on the field more. He wasn't on the field nearly enough in this game, and certainly didn't get his lion's share of the targets that he deserved. But overall, guys, I really liked what I saw from the Rams. So those are the things that I looked for. Those are the things that I pulled away. I'm not going to go into detail on what the Rams need to do to beat Dallas. I'll do that with Eric. But I did want to kind of do my own separate breakdown of the Ram game. I'll let Eric kind of do a brief blurb, but I got some input on one of you guys out there, and I'm sorry, said that what we should do is do two separate shows, do a Sunday breakdown of the games, and then do the review so the videos aren't so long because it's too long. And I agree with it completely. I have been trying to get under an hour for a long time, working with Eric on it, and I do think that's probably going to be the best strategy, is kind of do two separate shows, and that's what we'll have to do. So I did decide, though, for this one, I wanted to do a little bit of since the Rams played on Thursday, kind of give you guys a little bit of what you're not going to hear on Sunday, which is a little Ram talk. So my takeaway again, one more time, we don't have, Robert Quinn isn't going to be able to set the edge this year. It's an ability thing. It's not a talent thing. It's just, it's a physical strength thing. So, and I think it's a scheme thing, and he doesn't fit this scheme very well. Our secondary is horrendous, and Tavon Austin's got to go. The positives that I saw, and I mentioned this before, Todd Gurley ran the ball like I said he needed to. Goff looked really good. Watkins and Woods looked phenomenal. They played really, really well. Both Tavon and Watkins, I think, went in for concussion protocol. Wood seems fine. I'm hoping Watkins will be okay because the more he's on the field, the better that's going to be for our football team. What I also took away from the game was that the Rams took this rivalry very seriously. And that's a credit to Sean McVay, and that's a credit to Wade Phillips, and that's a credit to the players that have been around. They understand that this is a rivalry. It's always been a rivalry even when we were in St. Louis. I hate how they're like, oh, this rivalry's renewed. It's always been there. I never want to lose to the 49ers. And for the fans that stuck with the Rams to St. Louis and back to L.A., it never went away for us. It's always been a painful thing. And, anytime you could stick it to the Niners, the better. This upcoming game, I'm not going to do a lot of analysis on, but I am going to say this right now, that I think if the Rams can take these 10 days, focus it on defense, continue to fine-tune on offense, and get healthy, I think the game against Dallas is going to be a good football game. But I'm not making the mistake I did before. There's a reason I thought the Rams would win the games I thought they were going to win and lose the games I thought they were going to lose. So don't be angry when I pick Dallas next week, because the Rams scheme-wise don't really, and that's the best offensive line in football, and Zeke Elliott's going to get going. I don't care if you put 8 guys in the box or not. That's a problem. You still have to cover Witten. You still have to cover Bryant. And we don't have a strong secondary, and that was evident when Brian Hoyer tore us apart. We made Brian Hoyer look like Joe Montana. It was awful. He looked like Brody back there. We've got to improve these areas, and that's what these next 10 days will be, hopefully, for. But don't get upset about the Robert Quinn thing. I'm not going to be mad if the Rams don't trade him. I just think they may need to put him at defensive end. What I would do is I would have him at defensive end, I would have Brockers at nose, and I would have Aaron Donald at the other defensive end, and I would flip Aaron Donald at nose and occasionally drop Barwin to defensive end. But we need to find outside linebackers that can set the edge. I think that might be a better fit for Robert Quinn. I know putting him at outside linebacker and just using him as a fourth down lineman is kind of what we've been doing, but I don't know if that's going to work. And I'm trying to win a Super Bowl here. I'm not trying just to make the playoffs. Now this year, I think we're good enough to make the playoffs if we can continue to beat the teams we're supposed to beat, because there's a lot of winnable games on our schedule. But we're going to have to beat a team or two that we're not supposed to beat. In order for that to happen, we're going to need big games from the defense, because the offense can't be expected to score 41 points a game. Couple notes that I made in the game. How many times is Mike Tirico going to say the Rams won 49-6 when we won 46-9 week 1? Just a little bit of advice for Mike Tirico. Do your homework before you announce a game. Know what they did at least 2 weeks ago before you're going to decide to announce that. He said that once per quarter, and it was really annoying. I'm used to people being surprised by the Rams because, look, them making the playoffs this year, guys, is no surprise. I told you. And this goes to you too, LT out there. Okay, I watched your show, and I love your show. And I know you said at best the Rams could go 8-8, but you're starting to think they might make the playoffs. The reason I picked the Rams to win the division and make the playoffs this year is because the pieces that they've been getting over the course of the last few years have all been set, and now it's kind of coming together. This year, getting Kupp, getting Whitworth, those are the pieces the Rams are really glaringly missing in last season. So I just want you to keep that in mind. I didn't pick the Rams to make the playoffs because I'm a homer. It's like in '99 when I picked the Rams to make the playoffs. I saw things people didn't because I'm a loyal fan. I follow the team. And I liked their draft picks, and I liked what they were doing along the way. You get an Orlando Pace one year. You get a London Fletcher another year. You get a Dre Bly in the second round in '99. You get a Torrey Holt. You pick up a Herschel Walker, a Marshall Falk. You get a Trent Green. None of us knew about. I think it's fair to say a lot of us, if not all of us, didn't know about Kurt Warner. But, we knew the line was solid. And we had spent time building that team. So 99, it was just kind of, they've arrived. I think the Rams have done that. I think they've drafted a playoff caliber team over the last few years, minus a few of the obvious stupid mistakes and ignoring the offensive line. We are thin there. So if we do have any injuries there, that'll submarine the season real quick. But we've done some nice things to get where we are. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. All right? Now, 2 things before I go. if you guys get a chance to watch LT's show, it's called Combat Sports LA. I highly recommend you watch it, especially if you're in the LA area. It covers all LA sports and some fighting. MMA stuff, which I'm not into, but he is, and I'm sure he does a great job on it because he does a great job on the Rams. So if you like all things LA, you're going to love that show. So definitely watch, subscribe, because he's worth it. As far as I go, I'd love to get more subscribers. I'm up to 900. I'm doing pretty good. So if you guys can get word of mouth out about my show, get more people to watch it, maybe hopefully subscribe it. But that's up to me to get them to do, right? I got to do a good job for them to subscribe. But I'd like to up the subscriptions. And then one last thing, just to reiterate in the beginning of the show, guys, I really need to get those games. They got deleted from my DVR. I'm so pissed off. But there's nothing I can do about it. So if you have week 1 against the Colts and week 3, the Thursday night game against San Francisco, on your DVR, if you could somehow get that uploaded to YouTube or Google Plus, and let me know, or even send me, the link so I can convert it, that would be great. I meant to do that before, but lesson learned. I know what to do. I'm not technology savvy, and I did the wrong thing and deleted it. It's not like one of my kids did it. I tried to cancel recordings on my old DVR, and instead I deleted everything. So I lost all of those games, which I'm so happy about. I did get the Redskins game from week 2, though. A guy named Richard that I follow had that uploaded, so I just uploaded that to my computer. So I'll be able to convert at least week 2. I'm not trying to get every single Ram game. I definitely want to get all the wins and a couple of the games I think are going to be pretty good. So, I don't expect the Rams to beat Dallas, but I think it's going to be a fun game. So I'll end up with the first 4 games of the season. But, games they lose that tick me off that they don't lose, I don't plan on adding to my collection. But I definitely want to get their wins, and they won those 2. And they looked really good in both of those games, and now I don't have them. So if you can get them, that would be great. If you know somebody that has them, get them to upload it for me. That would be awesome. But those are kind of my 3 requests. Go watch LT, watch his show, Combat Sports LA. It's a great show. Subscribe and try to up my subscriptions here, get more people to kind of follow me and watch, and upload those 2 games if you can. Any comments, comment. But that makes a wrap for the Rams review segment. Like I said, a couple things to pull away that I think the Rams did well, and a couple things they need to improve. Dallas next week, 2-1 Rams. We will be in first place by the end of the week, all by our lonesome. Bold prediction. See you later. Watch Clash of Horns. It's another YouTube channel. He's one of my subscribers as well. He has a really good show. He does some pretty good analysis. And he actually has a lot more graphics and highlights of the game. So keep an eye on that too. So again, I guess there's down 4 requests. Keep the subscriptions up and going. And please feel free to comment. Watch LT show, Combat Sports LA. Watch the Clash of Horns show, because he does a really good job breaking down Ram games as well. He's one you can subscribe to. And get me those 2 games, please, 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 week 1 and week 3, as I did delete them. It'd be nice if I can get the Chiefs-Eagles game, too. I had that one for a bit and lost that one, too. That was the other game I had on there. But certainly the Rams games are paramount. So that's a wrap. I hope you guys like the analysis for week 3. I do plan on getting a lot more in-depth on these kinds of things in the future, getting more involved in the statistics and whatnot, and we will go from there. Keep in mind too, we will be improving the show. So as you guys give suggestions, like breaking it up in halves, I think is a good idea. We will certainly do that. So appreciate it. Have a great day.